Hi, everybody. So again, I'm Meg Young. I'm from the U.S. Embassy here in Lisbon. It is truly our pleasure to bring Dr. Lesli Opp-Beckman here to Lisbon to speak with you all today. Some of you may be familiar with her from when she worked on the e-teacher program. She's been on the faculty at the University of Oregon, College of Arts and Sciences, American English Institute in Eugene, Oregon for 20 years. She's the director of innovative programming for face-to-face, online, and blended courses. And she's serving English language learners and educators in over 200 countries worldwide. We brought some materials that may be helpful for people who are particularly interested in her topic, and we will make those available either after this session or during her workshop, which will be on Sunday. So if you find this particularly useful, please keep an eye out for those materials on our table. But with no further ado, please, it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Lesli Opp-Beckman.
Thank you to APPI for having me here, and to the U.S. Embassy as well. Madalena and I have been in communication for a number of years through the eTeacher Scholarship Program and other programming, and it's really a joy to be here in Portugal for the first time and to get to meet some of you in person. How many eTeacher people do we have in the audience? Has anyone done an eTeacher Scholarship class? Wonderful. I'd love to talk with you at some point, maybe during the cocktail hour or coffee or something, and hear about your experiences. I'd also like to get a sense of who we have in the audience. How many of you are working with very, very young learners under the age of 5? Yeah, I noticed some of that in the program. Okay. And you're going to raise your hand more than once, because I know some of you have more than one job too. How many of you are working with what we would call young learners from the first grades, maybe up through age 10 or 11? Oh, lots of those here. Okay. Thank you. How about, I call them tweens, pre-teens, between that sort of 11 and 12 before they hit 13. How many people are with the tweens? Tweens? And then what about teens? Yeah, there you go. How many people in higher ed, working in higher ed? Okay. How about the vocational sector, maybe prisons or tourism industry? We get a lot of prison English. I heard a chuckle there, but yeah. Okay. And how about, I'm going to ask you to reveal yourselves. How about administrators? How many straight-up administrators do we have in the room? Oh, they're hiding. I know they're out there. There's a few hands. Okay, good. Welcome. Welcome to all. I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about data-driven decision-making. When you look on Google, when you Google it or you look it up, you sometimes see it as an acronym D3M. Who's in the driver's seat? And when I first put my plenary session in, dear Alberto wrote back to me, he's so kind, and he said, please, something along the lines of, please don't make it too boring. Please don't make it, he didn't say that. Remember who your audience is. And so I'm going to be following on that lovely plenary that we had this morning, but taking kind of a light tone with this. And what I'd like us all to be thinking about as we do this is, who are we as teachers? And what do we do with the data that we receive and that we get from our learning processes? I'm going to talk a little bit about the relationship between assessment and data. And I really liked what Barry said this morning, drawing that distinction between assessment and testing. And we're going to come back to that a little bit. He talked about, if I remember correctly, assessment as being part of the learning process, very process-oriented, and testing as being more what he called judgmental, sort of that end result. And I like what he said about that, and I'm going to try to build from that as well. We're also going to talk a little bit about the concept of testing as learning and the kind of data that yields. So a few important notes. Get ready. Get your pencils out. Do you have pencils with you? You're all good teachers, so you brought your pencils, your pens, and paper. This session is going to involve testing as learning and learning by doing. So I'm not one of those people that just stands up here and talks for the whole plenary. You're going to be working with me. Yeah. This is also a paper-free green presentation in the sense that I didn't bring a lot of handouts. If you'd like to get, oops. Oh, what did I do? There, that's what I did. If you'd like to get an e-copy, an electronic copy, look for my email address. I'll have it again on the last final slide, and you can contact me, and I'd be happy to send it to you. Okay, are we ready to begin? Are we ready to begin? Yes. Oh, you're not asleep. That's good. You had some coffee and tea after your lunch. Excellent. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of monkey around with these ideas, or if you're more of a squirrel person, we're going to squirrel around with it. And that's really the kind of attitude I'm hoping that you can bring to your sessions. You have a lot of amazing sessions before you the next 2.5 days. Lots of intense stuff around assessment. But really, in the end, what we're all hoping to do is take these great ideas and go back and play around with them in our educational environments, whatever that may be. But for now, we're going to start with a test, a very important test. Yeah. So I talked to some people at lunch, and there are a number of people who seem to already know a little bit about where I'm from. This test is all about me. It's very important. Oregon. And so your job is to answer the questions with your pencil and paper now. What is the capital? Number 2, University of Oregon is in what city? Where did Nike sports shoes begin? Number 4, how much do sports shoes in Oregon cost? Number 5, $100 converts to how many euros? I see you talking. Are you cheating? Are you talking to your neighbors? I think you might be cheating. Yeah. Because when we talk about testing, if you're talking to your neighbors, and that's cheating, but I guess we can allow it. Okay. All right. I'm going to count down from 10, and then you should have your answers written down. Seriously, write your answers down. Yeah. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the end of the test. Tests have timers, right? You only get so much time. You've got to take that test. Finish that test. Do your best work. How many people need more time? You can't have it. There's no more time. Okay. Would you like to see what the answers are? Oh, you would? Okay, you're interested. All right. So, this very important test. This is the test key, because all tests have a key. Who holds the key? I do. I have the power. I have the key, right? All the answers are with me, because I'm the test giver. All right, check your answer. If you get a good answer, you get 1 point. Read along with me. The capital of Oregon is? Salem. Salem. That's answer number 1. Number 2, University of Oregon is in? Eugene. Number 3, Nike shoes began in? Eugene at University of Oregon. Not everybody knows that. Everybody knows Nike, but honestly, they began at University of Oregon. Number 4, sports shoes in the United States cost around? And that's probably a cheap pair. Yeah. Oh, I did it again. Oh, man. I flunked the test. I'm failing the clicker test big time. $100 today is 91 euros. At least that's what it was when I looked. Okay. If you got a 4 out of 5, you passed the test. If you got a 3 or less, you failed. All right. Clap once if you passed the test. Clap once. What? Clap twice if you failed the test. Yeah. Okay. Good job on failing the test, because there was no reason or basis or purpose for you taking that test other than to show you that these kinds of tests are high stakes, and they have a very rigid structure, and they're also the ones that they were most familiar with. How did this test make you feel? Yeah. Did you have a happy face at the end of it? No, it didn't make you feel so good, right? So increasingly, when we look at the research, when we look at what is happening with assessment, what is happening with data, we have been talking about emotional intelligence. What does it make us feel like when we have these kinds of learning opportunities? This is a learning opportunity. It's also a judgment, but it's a learning opportunity. So how it makes us feel, how does it make our students feel? Did it connect with anything you already know? Show me with your hands. If it connected a little bit with what you know, do this. If it connected if it connected a lot with things you already knew, hold up your hands and show me. Give me a visual indicator. A little bit, a lot, a little more, a lot. Okay, I'm seeing lots of hands somewhere between here and here, and I'm not going to count the people from the U.S. Embassy because you already have some background on that. Okay, so what we do know about testing, what we know about learning, is that the more that it connects to our learning that we've already done, what's in our students' brains, the more successful we can be. And the same goes for assessment, and the same goes for thinking about the data that we get from that assessment. So sometimes we call this scaffolding, right? Scaffolding, tiering. Okay. If I ask you those 5 questions tomorrow, will you remember any of the answers? Give me a thumbs up if yes, give me a thumbs down if no. Oh, I made more of an impact than I thought. I think you're being nice to me. I think if I ask you 24 hours from now, where did Nike begin? You might not remember, but you could just be a super smart audience too. If I ask you tomorrow, will you care about any of those answers? Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no. Yeah, no. So when we're thinking about the testing that we're doing, the assessment, the learning, the data that's coming out of all of that from our students, we ask ourselves, do we care, but do they care? Is it meaningful? Is it authentic? Does it have real-world relevance for them? And that's true of all that we're doing, and most especially the assessments that we're doing. So the bottom line, whether you passed or failed my Oregon test, my very important Oregon test, we want to think about what data did we collect from this and what learning occurred. So what I learned from this is that all of you failed the test. You met my prediction. That was my prediction that you would fail the test. So that's one thing I took away from it. When we're giving tests and we get data back from our students, we have to think about what is it that we're learning from this? What are we going to do with this information that we got from the test? It's more than simply a score or a number. So I'd like to try reframing the same test, but in a different format. And this is also very important. And it's still Oregon, but instead of test, we're going to do quest. What's a quest? What is a quest? Yeah, it's a kind of a searching. So we think of the word question, quest, right? So a quest is to go seeking for something. And so what we hope more than anything, whether it's English or other content, or English with other content, we hope that our students are questing. We also call this inquiry-based learning. We want them to be thirsty for knowledge. We want them to be looking for things. So if I take this same information and instead I say, what is the capital of Oregon? Play the U.S. state capital map game. And I give you a website for it. Maybe it's on the phone. Maybe it's on the screen. Maybe it's even in a book. Number 2, University of Oregon is in what city? And I send you on a virtual tour of the University of Oregon so you can see where is it? How do I get around? What's there? Number 3, what do design your own sports shoes cost? And I send you to the Nike Design Shoe Store where you can design your own shoes. I can design mine. Alberto can design his. Madalena can design hers. They're all completely different, very individualized. Furthermore, I give you what's called an open-ended question, a critical thinking question. I don't know what your answer is going to be. And I say, imagine you have $200 US and you work in Oregon, maybe at the Nike shoe store, maybe at the University of Oregon. What shoes will you buy with that $200 and why? So I'm asking you to apply that knowledge. I'm testing you to see how you apply that information. So this would be the place where you play the quiz. Go in there and poke around. This is a real website. If you want to poke around and find out stuff about the United States, you can. Oregon is not known to very many people. We're on the West Coast. I bet you can recognize California, and that's Oregon just above, one state before you hit Canada. It's a lot colder in Oregon right now. I was happy to come see the sunshine here. Yeah. So the internet has lots of these interesting maps. This is the kind of website I would set you looking at if you wanted to find out more and get directions. So this would be directions to the campus. How would you get there? Where is it? What's it all about? You could do it on a laptop, on an iPad. You could even do this on your phone too. How many of your students have cell phones? All of them, right? So there are lots of things they can be doing with their cell phones educationally other than texting their friends or doing all those cool things that they know how to do and we don't know how to do. Design your own shoe. So just before the workshop, I went to the Nike shoe store, and this is the shoe I designed. I put a green front on it and a red back. And if I give them my Visa card, they'll send it to me in 6 weeks. I did not give them my Visa card. Yeah, but it's kind of fun. Start with a blank canvas, make your own shoe. I'd spend my $200. That'd probably get me one pair of shoes. So again, these were the questions. These were the testing questions, only they were questing questions. And these were the sites that we just went to. Let's imagine that you do it. If you have your phones, you might have even been doing it a little bit while I was talking, which is fine. What would the guide be? What would the key be? For me, what I would tell my students is to pass, you must discover the answers to at least 3 of the questions. How many questions were there? 4. So do you have to finish the whole test? No, you don't. So people who work more slowly or need more time or have less interest, that's fine. They don't have to do all 4. They can do just 3. But if you do more, you get extra credit. So there's an incentive there, okay? Also, you can work alone or with a partner. How is that different than the first test? Yeah, the first test, no cheating. You must work alone, right? This one gives you a choice. Some people like to work alone. Some people prefer it. Some people prefer to work with a partner. Some people want to be the ones doing the moving. Some people want to be the ones doing the talking. We talk about this as differentiated instruction, right? We can also think of it as differentiated assessment, giving different pathways or avenues for your students to show you evidence of what they know or what they're learning. For follow-up discussion, you must report one interesting new fact that you find on one of those 4 sites. So something I don't know, something that wasn't even in the quest. It's your job to find that and bring it back. That's also part of your data or your evidence that you're showing me what you're learning. Then you need to share it with your group. So you need to internalize it. You need to, in other words, be able to teach it, to share it to members in your group. That's more data. That's more evidence for me to be able to see that, yeah, you learned this information, you know about it, and in fact, you can tell it to others too. For your homework, we're back to that open-ended questions, the critical thinking. Write 2 questions to bring to class. So the teacher's not doing the questions. The students are making the questions. They can bring them to class. If you have a blog or a website, they could put them there. One question about a new fact that you discovered, and another question for something else that you would like to know about. So here we put the student in the driver's seat. That squirrely student, that student who's been monkeying around. We put them in the driver's seat so that they're going after whatever the next steps are in their learning process. Are you having fun yet? You're frowning. Is that a good frown? Is that a thoughtful frown? Yeah? Okay. Let's keep going. Questions for you. Which is more likely to facilitate learning, a test or a quest? A test or a quest? How many people say test? How many people say quest? Oh, yeah. So good. All right. Passing. You're passing. You're passing. Where is the locus of control in the 2 types of activity? So very important when we're talking about who's in the driver's seat. Who's managing the data? Who's got a playing hand in the assessment? Where is the locus of control? Is it with the teacher or with the student? With both? Hold up your hand, hold up one finger if you think the student only. Yeah, so the locus of control in the two types of activities. Thank you. In which case? Let me rephrase that. In the case of the test, so the traditional paper and pencil test, where is the locus of control? Teacher, 100% with the teacher, 100%. Where's the locus of control in a quest? Some people are saying both, some people are saying learner. It is a bit of both. So the teacher's responsibility is that guide on the side position, sort of setting up that learning activity, so there's some driving there. But then the students are also driving as well because they're in control of how many items do I do? How long does it take? Do I do it by myself or with a partner? And so on. Okay. What's the difference in the data that gets produced? So we can ask ourselves, what kind of data? So coming out of a paper and pencil test, what do we get? Okay, paper and pencil tests, we get numbers, we get scores, we get grades, we get right or wrong, okay? Coming out of a quest, what kind of data do we get there?
As I said, significant to the student.
They're significantly different, yes. We get to see what's inside our students' heads. We get to look inside their heads and see, what is it that's going on in there? What are you learning? What are you producing? What would you like to learn more about? So it helps guide us in our teaching as well. Thinking about that, what might you and or the learner then do with the analysis of that data, and what are some next possible steps in the learning process? So that's wide open. That's up to you. I think what I saw when I took the inventory at the beginning of this session is that we have all kinds of teachers here. Very young learners, tweens, teens, higher ed. So what each of you are going to be doing with that as you go to the sessions in the conference and go back to your classrooms will be highly individualized as well. Okay, we got to do a little bit of token theory. So let's think about this testing is learning, questing is testing, and the data-driven decision making. The framework that we've been playing around with, that we've been monkeying around with here, largely comes out of the field of constructivism. What does it mean to construct? Build is to build. So it's as though in your head or on top of your head, you're walking around and you're constantly building off of what's already there. You're mapping new things onto it. This is what our learners do as well. They build or construct knowledge and meaning based on what they bring to your classroom, what they've already done, what they've already been exposed to. In constructivism and in constructivist-based approaches, like testing as learning or inquiry-based learning, the focus is on inquiry, analysis, and problem solving, rather than on rote memorization of facts. So this is definitely a trend in what we call maybe alternative assessment. Assessment becomes integrated as part of the learning process. So a test is not something that you do separately. So Barry talked this morning about working in Japan and how every Friday was testing day, and you did testing whether you needed it or not, right? And he also mentioned at the end of his plenary that he believed that assessment is something that's going to largely sort of disappear. And what I think he meant by that is that it's becoming just folded into what we do. It's automatically folded in. And this is that notion of continuous assessment integrated as part of the learning process. Very important, learners help decide. So data-driven decision-making is typically used to talk about big numbers that you see behind the scenes on your learning management system or in Google, or large volumes of test scores, and you're looking at that and doing statistics. But data-driven decision-making and learning can also be learners helping decide how they will use feedback from their learning process, that data, to further guide what they're doing. So, with learner autonomy, the learner controls who is involved, the length of time that's needed to complete, the number of sources and extent of information needed to answer the questions, and then the data produced and next steps in the learning process. This sounds like the sort of thing that teachers are responsible for too, but it is possible to hand a number of these responsibilities over to the learner as well. All right, would you like to try one together? Yeah, so let's do a questioning is learning, and let's do one for Lisbon because that's where we are. Okay, and we're going to start with a true or false statement, and I'm going to ask you to make a prediction because a prediction is another kind of critical thinking or open-ended kind of question. The Lisbon earthquake and tsunami of 1755 killed 750,000 people. Talk to your neighbor. Take 2 minutes, talk to your neighbor. True or false? Go ahead and cheat. Cheat all you want. Okay, let's come back together. Count with me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, how many? Raise your right hand if you think true. Raise your right hand if you think true. Raise your left hand if you think false. Oh, why false? Why? Okay, I'm hearing from some people, there weren't so many people back then. 750,000 seems like a lot of people. It was a big earthquake, though. It was a really big tsunami. Maybe Portugal had a larger territory. I'm not fooling you. I'm not going to get away with that, am I? All right. The answer is false. What do you think is a more realistic number? 75,000. Drop a zero. That'll do it. Drop a zero. If you're students and I'm sending you out rather than just guessing to find the answer, I could send you to a lot of different sources for this. There's a very nice text from the Lisbon Guide website, and it's just sort of like an encyclopedia. It has lots of information. There's also a Smithsonian YouTube that shows a reenactment of what they think that tsunami and earthquake looked like. Two very different kinds of learning experiences. How many of you in the room would first go to the text? Raise your hand if you would first go to the text. There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm genuinely curious. Yeah. How many of you think you would go first to the video? Okay, interesting. So what you can see by looking around the room is, of course, even among us, just as among our students, we have different learning preferences as well. So some of us are more comfortable with text. We're just going to go straight to the information and get it. Some of us want to take it in visually and auditorially and sort of get more of an experience of it. What kinds of open-ended questions might we follow up with this? Take a couple minutes and talk to the person next to you. So what we've been looking at is pose a scenario, go find information, come back, and open-ended questions or tasks for the students to do. What might you ask them to do at this point? What would be the next step in your learning lesson now? Talk to the person next to you and let's see what you come up with. Thank you. I'm wondering if I can use, I wonder if we can do microphones. They're allowed to talk into microphones. There's microphones right down here. Yeah, I think can we use one of those and just, because I'd like to be able to hear what they're saying. I should have thought of that in advance. Good. Can you? Testing? Great. We're going to see if Alberto can help us Get a microphone. I really want to hear what you have to say. Let's see if we can. You could use your teacher voices. Do you have teacher voices today? Loud teacher voices?
Sure.
Oh, it's working. Okay, good. All right, raise your hand if you have an answer for this or an idea. Raise your hand. Okay. Pick someone on this close here. Yeah.
Onde está?
Here we go. Oh, we're going to go all the way down. Could you grab a second microphone? Oh, sorry.
All right.
All right.
One of the questions would be how many men and how many women were killed? How many children? How did it start? When exactly it started? What happened afterwards? That kind of thing.
Okay, good. So that would be a form of gathering data about it. Okay, so that let's think in terms of two kinds of questions here. A question that would help them go and find specific kinds of data. So they would still be seeking specific kinds of data. Is there more than one answer for that kind of a question? No, that's one answer. That's helping them build that foundation knowledge. Okay, let's try for another open-ended question. Here's another person right back here. Thanks, Alberto.
So it would be like, how would you feel if you lost your family on an earthquake or something like that?
Okay, there you go. That's an open-ended question. So open-ended is, imagine you're a 13-year-old, you were in a safe place, and the rest of your family was lost in the earthquake. How would you feel? So write a diary, write a letter, show us. Okay, good. That's a good open-ended question. Another open-ended question. There's one back there.
I think you could do lots of project work with this. You could ask them to report the news back and they could choose how they wanted to do it. So they could do a reenactment. We talked about interviewing a survivor or a news story or a blog. There's so many things. They could choose how they wanted to do that.
Okay, good. So you might do some kind of a project-based learning, some kind of a reenactment. Okay, excellent. And there was another hand behind you, Alberto.
Yeah.
Behind you. Thank you. He didn't know he was going to get this much exercise.
What would be your earthquake survival kit?
Oh, there you go, a survival kit. So put together a survival kit. And remember, it's 1755. So what would go into a survival kit in 1755? That could be really interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you very much. Okay, give yourselves a hand. That was a good job. You did a good job with that. All right. So I could see as you were coming up with the open-ended questions that it got to be more fun for you. It got to be more real and more alive. And that's what we try to do with our students as well when we're questing them. We're helping them quest. Yeah, so gathering data, questing, assessment, test, questing is learning. It need not be catastrophic. Haha, I'm a linguist. I get away with doing this at conferences, but not at home. My children kill me when I do this at home. Mom. One more. It's not so doggone difficult. Okay, so this doesn't have to be difficult either. I looked in the program, and I can see in the program that there are lots and lots of things for you to be doing, sessions to be attending, lots of great ideas to take away. So all of that, I think, if you're thinking about your assessment framework, data, questing, how to do those open-end experiences for your students, you can help them have a good time and have a good time with them. So your quest is to go forth and seek answers. What assessment and data, ask yourself, drive my decision-making? What role do assessment and data play in the learning environment I create for my students? How can I best invest my time, my precious time? You guys are all super busy in selecting or developing materials that I can either repurpose, use them again, and again, and again. What opportunities do I have to combine forces with other colleagues? So you're here at this fabulous conference. APPI. I see a lot of you going around. I'm so jealous. You're going around and hugging and kissing and seeing your friends and old acquaintances, meeting new ones. I get to do that. I get to meet new people. But how can you combine forces with them? So anytime you're developing or selecting materials, assessments, especially if it's new and you don't have that much time, who can you split it up with? So I'm going to give half of my work to Meg. She's going to do half. I'm going to do half. We're going to get back together, and then we're going to both be able to use it. Okay? So thinking along those lines as well. How can you synergize? And I'm going to stop there. I'm going to keep it short. This is my email. If you'd like more information, I'm happy to give it to you. And we have a few minutes still, I think, huh? We have a few minutes? Yeah? And so we could open the floor up to questions if you want. We'll make sure that people get away to their next sessions on time, too. Questions? Okay. Can I ask you to wait till the microphone gets to you? My ears are right there. Yeah.
This may be stupid, but why is it D3M? Oh, pois é.
Thank you. You answered the question for me. A participatory audience. Other questions?
Any further questions? You must stick your arm up. I can't see you.
I think they know everything. Yeah.
Well, don't be shy. Come on.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I can take some time and make myself available if people want to talk in person as well. Okay, thank you very much.